Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. Rudo and AJ coming at you live. Going to get into a little bit of MVP conversation. AJ representing far too many different teams on the show right now.
Far too much success over here.
Okay, you can't say that with a fucking Ferrari hat on. Calm down.
I'm sorry. Who's in first place right now? I'm sorry. Who's finished with double podiums to start the year?
Yeah, because the engine failures. That's the only reason. But it's fine. In any case,
am I about to apologize for that success? Am I about to apologize that dude twisted his ankle?
You have no reason to apologize for the Jayhawks. They are a champion. You can live that dream. Ferrari hasn't won in a hot minute. Okay, no, that's all I'm saying.
They won the first race of the year, and they got a double podium in race number 2.
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited.
No one cares about race wins, okay?
Then why do we watch them?
The only race win that matters is your first one. And Charles has already won one, so.
So many more to come.
You're probably right there. In any case, first of all, plenty of Avs news on the day. A lot of it on the positive side. Everyone is moving toward health. Val Nichushkin is good to go to return to the lineup. Sam Girard will return Friday against Winnipeg. Gabe Landeskog is expected to start skating with the team again tomorrow, I believe. And then Nazem Kadri shouldn't be too far behind him. So
the big thing is that it looks like they will not be using the postseason to get everybody back in the lineup and figure it all out.
Right.
Even if it's just the last week of the season and they get everybody like back
just up to speed.
Yeah. That's huge for them.
For sure. Agreed. It's looking, and there's 3 weeks left in the regular season. 6 more dudes could get hurt for all we know. But
yeah. Well, in any of these recoveries, there could be a setback here.
Sure.
There could be a setback there. There's whatever.
Definitely.
Any of that's
the future there.
Yeah. Any of that is possible. So, it's really just, it continues to trend in the right direction, which I continue to say is absolutely absurd for everybody else.
Yep.
Like
it's not good news for anybody.
Like you look at Pittsburgh, who I think I'm more impressed with Pittsburgh having watched them in head-to-head against Colorado. If they can play that kind of game against some of these other teams, dude, I think
they're sucks.
I really like them.
They're fun. I don't think their defense is any good.
Their defense wasn't any good the last time it won a cup. Remember? Like they stitched together like this weird patchwork group and made it work. Like Mike Sullivan knows what he's doing, man. Like they get results from that group.
I guess the bigger problem there is I don't think their defense is any good, and against a team like the Avs, I don't trust Yari at all.
Yeah, I mean Tristan Jarry's got to figure. He's got to definitely figure out the postseason. Like he has the exact he has the same question that Darcy Kemper has.
Yeah,
like these guys are great in the regular season. They've been rolling along, but they haven't proven it in the postseason, and so it remains like.
The thing is, I watched those two guys go head to head in the regular season, and I like Kemper's game way better than I like Yari's.
I didn't love Kemper yesterday, and I was not super surprised when a couple of freebies slipped in at the end, especially that fourth one. I didn't think his puck tracking was very good, and then he didn't see that puck at all. But not the point. It was. I do agree with you that if I had to pick between them, I'm picking Kemper because. In their very brief postseason histories, Darcy Kemper at least put up a valiant effort
had some decent goes of it. Yeah.
Put up a valiant effort against Colorado before falling apart. And then way back in the Wayback Machine did win them a series against the Avs.
Yep. Okay. Other Avs news. We already talked about this a little bit yesterday, but Curtis McDermott extension, AJ, we haven't gotten your thoughts on that yet.
Yeah, so I stayed up last night kind of working on a piece on it. Mostly, I just think it's mostly like there's two really, really, really staunch angles to this. And it's the hockey angle, which is, boy, this isn't very good. He's not very good.
Yep.
Like, you go and you look at his on-ice impacts, and it's like, there are people out there who are like, oh, analytics are useless. They ruin the game. They do all this. And it's like, all this does is take all the things, all the data, and all the things that happen on the ice and enhance it down. Like, distill it down into information that we can digest and process and make use of.
Yeah.
And all of it says that Kurtis MacDermid is just not a good NHL player. Yeah. He is the lowest of the lowest tier of the NHL player. And then there's the person side of this. And when you talk about a team that's tight-knit and bonded and has a guy that they root for and love, how do you not love that guy? And how do you value a guy that the teammates absolutely adore? Like, they freak out every time he does anything.
Yep. It's a weird spot. First of all, we did get $20 super chat here from Jack saying, finishing up grad school in a month and just got offered a job. Wanted to give you your share as the pod has helped me get through many long days and nights of work. You guys are amazing. Appreciate it, Jack. $20 is extremely generous. So thank you.
Oh, we have a free t-shirt to give away to somebody at some point.
Okay. News of the day, I guess. The thing with MacDermid that makes me not care about it is the contract is entirely variable.
Right. And so this is where, like, it's a one-way deal. So it doesn't, like, that suggests they're not signing it with intent of waiving him at some point. But it keeps it open. It keeps the door open. Now, where there's going to be value in this is that Colorado is going to have big decisions and is going to be a cap team. And that's a guy that can fill 2 roster spots for the price of 1.
For sure.
Because he can be your 8th D and your 13th forward.
And if he's that, it's whatever, right? If he's the guy sitting in the press box for you when you're a healthy team,
yeah,
fine. I have no problems with it. If he's a guy you're actively putting into the lineup over more skilled players, that's when it's meh.
Well, and this year we've seen he's been hurt, or the team has been hurt so consistently that he's really just been in the lineup pretty consistently.
Yep.
But I just don't I just don't have a huge issue with it. It does. I do have questions about, like, what's the plan at forward.
Yeah, if the plan is to play Kurtis MacDermid in a healthy lineup regularly, I like the move a lot less.
Yeah, like if you're gonna play him over Mikhail Maltsev next year, like, that's your plan.
Don't love it. Yeah.
Then I struggle with that, because at some point it's like you have to leave the door open for Shane Bowers and Martin Kaut and Mikhail Maltsev and Sampo Ranta, and probably not next year, but someday Jean-Luc Foudy.
Yep.
Like, I just think that that's frustrating if that's what ends up happening, and that's usually what ends up happening. So I'm kind of planning on it, because it's like, what's next for these guys? What's the next step? And, you know, we don't need to get into the, well, have they even earned an NHL job or blah, 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 blah.
There is no conversation about earning an NHL job. Kurtis MacDermid has regularly played 4 minutes this season. Like, that's not an NHL job either.
That's the thing, is it's like they're keeping him around almost entirely for personality and intangible reasons. Yep. And it's like, I think that there's something to be said for that. I think it's something that we overlook a lot in the team building aspect of things, because we are so data driven, and we also are not in that room, and so we don't know that, hey, maybe these guys are, maybe these guys are, they need a guy like this, and he just has that personality, and he jives, and everything is good.
I'm certainly not saying it doesn't matter, but there's definitely a line of a better hockey player is going to make you a better team at a certain point. Is that 10 points, 15 points? Whatever it is, a penalty kill guy, it doesn't matter. Everyone's going to draw their line differently there. But at a certain point, there's a threshold where you can't say that guy should be in your starting lineup at the very least.
Right, but I'm just like I think I've come around enough on this year specifically, because we've just sort of seen it play out that way in such a way that it's like I really struggle to like crucify this, because he's been fine.
Yeah, the contract is fine. How they use him going forward is the only question I have.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a significant negative or positive either way. Clearly, they wanted to keep him around. They've done that, and they've done it in a way where if he's truly terrible, they can waive him, and either he gets buried or someone claims him, and that's that.
The weird part of this to me is Jared Bednar. Yeah. Because Bednar clearly loves him. But not so much that he's willing to play him.
He won't give him minutes, though. Yeah.
Like, did not play him in the third period against the Penguins until they were up.
Yep.
5-2.
Yep.
And then was like,
has never
have a shift.
In situations that matter, has clearly never been comfortable playing him this year. So.
For real, it's just a really interesting dynamic. And like this whole the Avs need somebody to defend their skill guys. Like Gabe Landeskog has 3 fights this year. Nathan McKinnon, I think, has 3 fights this year. I think Nathan McKinnon has 2 fights and what was called roughing when he just beat up Brandon Duhaime after Duhaime boarded Bo Byram.
Yeah.
So he got a free pass on what should have been a fighting major in that game.
Well, and Nas can fight. They have enough dudes that if you're looking for someone to punch a face, they have enough dudes to do.
Yeah, that. Jack Johnson threw fists once this year too.
Yep.
His other major was, what was it, that interference or whatever, that weird.
Yeah, it was super weird.
Yeah, that was the strangest. But anyway, those guys have decided to just do it themselves.
Yep.
So this whole protection thing is maybe hockey's greatest myth, that a guy like that deters something. Oh yeah, I'll ask the Ducks what it's like not having protection. Troy Terry walked into Jay Beagle and Jay Beagle punched his face off. And it was bullshit from Jay Beagle, 100%. But Troy Terry engaged in that situation.
Yep.
And it went sideways in a big hurry, but Troy Terry put himself in that spot. Having Nick Delorier around would not have changed a single second of that.
I agree.
All of this, they don't run your star players or whatever. It's all nonsense. Mikko Rantanen just got blown up a week ago.
Yep. They just do it anyway.
Yeah, it just doesn't exist. It's just total nut. The people worried about this with Nikita Zadorov got traded. Great. Now who's going to defend them? Well, all year, those guys have defended themselves. Do you necessarily want them to? No, but if they're doing it anyway, then you just shrug it off. So this is the part of the MacDermid stuff that drives me crazy. Is the giving him so much credit.
Well, and the Mikko one's
stuff
a great
that doesn't
example
exist.
Because Matt Dumba makes that hit on Mikko with Curtis McDermott literally on the ice.
Yeah.
There's no deterrent there. It's just not a thing.
This is made up. So You can say that I'm incorrect all day. That doesn't make you right.
Yep. I don't know how you can say McDermott deters anyone when you see that Mikko hit. It just math doesn't add up there.
And like just watching it all year, like they've just decided to just handle it themselves. So that part of it, I'm not here for that part of this argument that it's some sort of a deterrent and it keeps them safer or whatever. It hasn't.
Yeah.
So,
I do think there are some merits to fighting. I understand it, but again, we had this conversation with Dumba. He's not going to fight Curtis McDermott. McDermott is fighting.
Probably not.
McDermott is fighting the other dudes that fight in the league. Ryan Reeves, Nick Delorier.
Yeah.
Those are the dudes that fight each other. And again, I think you can find some value there, but it doesn't really do anything as far as preventing anything, I don't believe.
Yeah.
In any case, we are brought to you all by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. You can get 8 different kinds on tap down at the DNVR bar or find it at a local liquor store near you. So be sure to go get some of that. The Avalanche is amazing. I really do love it. Highly recommend you get it. Look at that. Yahir's got a Mountain Beach sipping on one right now. Great beer all over the place. Also, you can check out our party bus sponsor, Avaca TV. Go jump on that when you want to watch the Avs at home on your television instead of having to jump through all the bunch of ridiculous hoops. You get Avaca TV. It's just $25 a month, so way cheaper than DirecTV, and actually has altitude, so better than Comcast. You win both ways there. You just need an internet connection. It hooks right up to your TV. You got your remote. You turn it on. You're watching Avs hockey on altitude. They also have AT&T Sports Network, so that means they have all of the major Colorado sports. They have altitude for Nuggets, Avs, Rapids, Mammoth, and otherwise. They have AT&T Sportsnet for Rockies, and they have the national channel so you can watch football too. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to the future of where they go with Avaca TV and things like that. Go to avaca.tv/DNVR. That's evoca.tv/DNVR to get set up today. Makes it a lot easier for casual viewing of Colorado sports. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Rudo and AJ, I guess we should actually talk about the topic of the day in the MVP race in the NHL. I want to get to that. I want to start with who is the Colorado Avalanche MVP?
This year, Jared Bednar.
Jared Bednar? That's who you're giving it
to? I really don't know, man. It was Kadri for 50 games, maybe 60 games.
Yep.
Like hands down, dude.
He started slowing down and now he's injured and it's changed the pace here a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Cale Makar's obviously been unbelievable, but Devon Taves has been unbelievable. Darcy Kemper's been unbelievable.
I think that's the one. Like, I think between Taves and Makar, I'm giving it to Cale, but I think you could definitely give it to Darcy Kemper.
You know how every Olympic cycle they have like the torch where they like run the torch.
Yep.
And then a bunch of like high profile people it gets passed to, and then eventually it gets lit.
Yep.
That's the Avs this year. It's just a passing of that torch.
Here's this superstar.
Yeah, it's just like because like for stretches of this year, it's just been like, well, it's been this guy, then it's been this guy, then it's been this guy, then it's been this guy. They've all kind of stepped up. You can't say that any one guy has been more important than the others. Like I mean, you can look at even a guy like a Nichushkin has had a couple of games where you're like, that guy scores all of your goals in Calgary.
Yep.
Like you win a nail biter, like lockdown defensive game in Calgary, he scores all your goals. So it's just they've all been unbelievable at different times. And like for a while there, the best player on the top line was Gabe Landeskog. Then it was Nathan McKinnon. Then it was Mikko Rantanen.
Well, and the topic of the day is Mikko Rantanen for the Avs side of things here. We have been, for a significant portion of the year, fairly negative surrounding Mikko and his play, despite him continuing to produce. He's still in the top 10 in NHL scoring.
Yeah, it's like negative with the asterisk of every single time we talk about it.
Yeah.
We're always like, the guy is so sick. That's why we're mad.
But at a certain point, you do have to start having a conversation. There have been some names out there on Twitter. I believe Jay Fresh was one of them, who says Mikko should be a Hart finalist this year.
Yeah, so there are some underlying numbers here. Those guys make those arguments based off of that.
Right. Almost entirely analytically.
Yeah. So they look at all of those numbers, and Mikko Rantanen has had that kind of year.
Yep. Where he just puts it all together.
Yeah, and you look at it, he's 9th in the NHL in scoring.
Yep. 84 points, 35 goals, and counting. In what has been, for a season where the Avs have not been particularly healthy, he's played 67 of their 70 games.
Yeah.
So, pretty solid on that front, too.
Yeah, you look, what was maybe the most impressive part of his year to me was the transition to 2C at times.
Yep. Played genuine top 6 center, which is the last time he played center in earnest before this year was his rookie year on the 4th line.
Yeah. God. I remember that.
And it was
whole
bad.
Nightmare.
Bad. So.
Yeah. That was weird, man. What a strange 9. We should go back and relive those 9 games
of Mikko being terrible.
Well, because you remember it got broken up. It started opening night. It was Borna Rendulic, Mikko Rantanen, and Carl Soderberg, and you're like,
what the hell is this?
What is going on here? It was just such a weird thing.
Yeah.
And then they send him down and play. He's down there playing center, and he comes back up and plays center, and you're like, this isn't it, dude. Why did you bring him back up? And then they got to the 9 games. We're like, no, get out of here.
Get gone. And then he murders the AHL that year. But
yeah. Well, that's life.
In any case,
memories
with Mikko. And I think part of this conversation for people that watch the Avs regularly, especially over the last 3 weeks, maybe a month, you've seen Mikko Rantanen. You've seen the guy turn it up enough that you're like, all right, yeah, no, there's still that actual beast in there somewhere, too.
I mean, you watch him in these games where they're taking it seriously. Watch this home and home against Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Was he better or was Evgeny Malkin?
Malkin was kind of a ghost in these 2 games, to be honest with you.
I put it in my post-game piece last night. If you're gonna beat the Penguins, you stop those 2 guys. And what did they combine for yesterday? 1 assist, 2 shots on goal.
Nothing.
Locked it down.
Easy life.
And Colorado's top line did work in both games.
As you do.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I don't know how serious I would take the Mikko Rantanen MVP conversation. I don't think I'd have it as a finalist.
Even if he got to 100 points this year, by the time he does that, there are going to be probably 5 other guys that get there. Yeah. And there could be more than that with Marner, Kaprizov, Kachuk, Yossi, and Panarin all in the same bracket as Rantanen.
For sure.
So we could be talking about 10 dudes here.
Yeah, and
that have 100 points, and it's just he's just gonna get lost in that shuffle. And to be honest with you, he doesn't have that star appeal that you absolutely need. You need people watching and being like, this guy's a freak. And that doesn't exist with Mikko, because you watch Colorado and you start with McKinnon, you start with Makar, and then you get to the back end of that and you're like, oh my God, Darcy Kemper's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of stiff competition for Mikko there for sure. In any case, this conversation does go beyond Mikko. AJ, do you have a real dark horse for an MVP finalist? I'm not gonna say win it, but finalist.
A dark horse? I don't think so.
No, it's all in that top 8-9 guys.
Yeah, I would. I mean, like, I think Shesterkin has gotten enough burn this year that he could end up a finalist. I think he'll probably finish top 5. I wonder about Roman Josi though, because well, he as much as anybody, he has driven the crap out of this Predators team.
Sure.
And like, I bag on the Predators, and I'm like, they're a balloon just waiting to be popped in the postseason. I don't think they're going to be very good, and I don't think they're going to blah 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 blah. Right? Like, I'm not buying it all. But for a regular season award, you look at Roman Josi. Man, I don't know how you can say that he's not one of the most valuable players in the NHL this year. Because unlike with Cale Makar, like, look who he plays with on that back end. And I never thought I'd say this about a Predators defense.
Yeah, the Predators defense has fallen a long way.
Like, at this point, it would be like, name the Predators defense. You know, like, it's not even like, you're not even talking about it as like a high-end thing anymore. It's just like, who the hell are they putting this poor guy with? And his success is unbelievable. It's off the charts.
Oh, yeah. He's especially the last month and a half or so, he's just been absurdly insane.
He had an all-time great March.
Yep. No doubt about it.
And that's where that goes. I do think he probably is going to snake the Norris this year. But it's weird to me that, like, we're seeing, like, Pierre LeBrun in the last couple of days has pushed this whole McDavid and DRAISATL being teammates should not disqualify them. And it's like, I'm sorry, what the fuck are you even on about right now? Who has won the last 2 MVPs? It hasn't disqualified them from shit.
Yeah, despite disqualifying other people like Nathan McKinnon in the past.
Yeah, and like, it was the reason Nathan McKinnon did not beat Taylor Hall.
Yep. Was
because Taylor Hall didn't have any help, and Nathan McKinnon had Mikko Rantanen.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden it's like, well, that's not their fault. But they're playing on different lines. Okay.
AJ's over it for sure with McDavid and DRAISATL.
I'm tired of hearing about, like, oh, poor them and this and like, they've just been handing these guys over. They've won 3 of the last 5 MVPs.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, in each of the years in which they got them, I didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with DRAISATL a couple of years ago when he had that, like, 120-point season or whatever. I didn't have a problem with him winning it. You and I on this show were like, we're giving it to DRAISATL.
Yep.
Even with all the pockmarks, even with the one-way play, and even, you know, whatever, we were like, dude, he's just been too insane. We were comfortable with that. The one that sucks is the McKinnon Hall thing. And my only frustration with that these days is the reasoning that was used. And now all of a sudden, like,
it's no longer a reason anymore. Yeah.
Can't disqualify the Edmonton's Wonder Twins because they're teammates. And it's like, what the fuck are we on about here? If you look at almost any of these, like, if teammates are disqualifying, McDavid and DRAISATL are out. Matthews and Marner are out.
Yep.
Gaudreau and Tkachuk are out. All right.
HUBERDEAU, come on down.
Yeah, now you've got that leaves you with just in the scoring race. Obviously, that leaves you with Jonathan HUBERDEAU, Kirill Kaprizov, and Roman Josi.
Yep.
And then Mikko Rantanen, but Mikko Rantanen has Nazem Kadri right there in 12th place, so they might be out too.
It's definitely inconsistent, but what in the NHL isn't inconsistent these days? So that's the way that goes. If you want to be consistent and making money with DraftKings, make sure you're following Blaze's bets because that dude don't miss. Highly recommend you get it on Blaze's bets for Avs games whenever you can. You can head on over to DraftKings when you sign up with the DNVR code right now. All you have to do is bet $5 on the Masters, and you get $25 in free bets for every birdie Bryson DeChambeau makes in the first round. So if he really goes off, you could get like $400 in free bets or something. That'd be insane, but like 300 might be doable. He's long enough that he kind of just breaks Augusta. So go over there. Go get DraftKings Sportsbook hooked up. Use that DNVR code. Bet $5 on bet $5 on the Masters. Get $25 for every birdie from Bryson DeChambeau. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR to bet that $5 to win $25 for every birdie. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And then you can go over and check out Lightshade with their 11 different locations here in the Denver metro area with a bunch of crazy products. 420 is coming up. They've got a bunch of 420 deals coming up for you. Their 5 best-selling products will be buy one, get one for $1 the entire week of 420. So if you want whatever it is you prefer, cannabis, concentrates, top shelf, flower, edibles, tinctures, accessories, whatever, you can get it for super cheap. 420 specials, plus 25% off non-sale items when you use code DNVR. Go to lightshade.com to order. Highly recommend, if you haven't been, to go check it out. It's super dope. You can also get yourself hooked up with some Ripple products. Fast-acting, dissolvable, 2 times faster than the leading gummy. It starts absorbing within 10 minutes, so you can depend on consistent experience every single time. You can pretty much put it in everything. It's just a quick dissolving powder, whether it's, throw it in a drink or throw it in some thin your bacon. Either way, it works for you. And they also have their quick sticks, which you can just pour right onto your tongue. So go check out Ripple at Lightshade today. Get all that hooked up. And if you want to be part of the party bus, we are selling bus tickets only. We're sold out of game tickets, but if you have your own Avs tickets, I think it's $20 to go on the party bus with us. So literally cheaper than parking at Pepsi Center to come ride the party bus. Should be a blast of a time. Come join us for the awesome party bus. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook.
I'm really bummed I'm missing the party bus, man.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to the whole section, and we got a little booth for intermission to everyone can come vibe at. It's going to be a blast. AJ, who is your MVP of the league today? You don't know.
I really don't. Gun to my head, I'd probably vote Austin Matthews.
Yeah, I saw that coming.
I just think what he's done goal scoring wise,
it's insane. Dude has a legitimate shot at 60.
It's been, I don't know. It's been special.
Yep.
I think everybody's hatred of Toronto makes it so that we don't want to admit what a special year he's having. But genuinely just what a tremendous player he is. Because even on an offense like full of stars, he separates from those guys. Like Mitch Marner is great. Mitch Marner rocks. And William Nylander is really good. and that traitorous swine is okay. But he's separate. Austin Matthews is just special, man.
Austin Matthews is the best goal scorer in the NHL right now. Anyone who disagrees with that is just wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's hard. It's hard with Alexander Ovechkin still in the league to say that, but I think he's probably taken the torch.
He does it in
knowing that
Ovi does, right? But
knowing that Ovi is still incredible.
Ovi is the best goal scorer of all time.
Yeah.
This right now in the NHL, it's Austin Matthews.
I think I would agree, and I would also have a. I think there's got to be some love here for Leon Draisaitl as a goal scorer.
Yeah, he's the only other guy at 50 in the league. So
well, and if I'm correct here, he's working on his this would be his second year shooting 20%. And he has 2 other years at 19 and 18%.
Yep.
Where he's just, we're like, that's coming down. And it's just like, no, it's not.
It's not like those years are not like, oh, it's just low volume, high percentage shooting. He's shooting like 250 times.
Yeah. And you can definitely ding Draisaitl a little bit for feasting
for sure
on the power play. Like, I think that we always talk about the power of even strength and how that is what separates a lot of guys. And Austin Matthews is incredible at even strength. He's just the best volume goal scorer at 5v5 that we've seen in a really long time. And he's unbelievable, man. And I think that Maple Leafs team, it's everything that I think that Toronto is really, really good, and they're betrayed by absolute bullshit goaltending.
Unfortunate.
So
the way it goes. 2 other conversations, 2 other players I specifically want to talk about. First, how do you feel about HUBERDEAU?
I'm really torn because he is a horrific defensive player.
Yep.
And I feel the same way about Draisaitl, that they give so much of it back. And so much of it back that I really struggle with that. At the same time, it's kind of like a specific thing, but we're seeing maybe the greatest left wing season ever out of Jonathan Huberdeau. So that's interesting. Something that I would also like to give love to.
When is the last season that someone recorded 80 assists? I honestly don't know. I'm sure it's been a minute. I think Huberdeau's.
Give me a little. Give me a second, and I'll give it to you.
But I think that's what makes Huberdeau an interesting conversation, is because he is up here on the point total, but he isn't driving the goal scoring anywhere near these other guys. Not McDavid, not Draisaitl, not Matthews, obviously. But even someone like Johnny Gaudreau is out goal scoring him by a significant margin.
Kucherov 3 years ago.
Oh yeah. I guess if you get to 120 fucking points, you're gonna have a lot of assists.
He had 128 points that year.
Yeah.
And won the MVP.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're talking Passy Sedin.
Yeah.
In 10, and then Joe Thornton in 06.
Okay. So it happens every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, Passy Sedin actually came close a couple of times,
just a little bit short. Yeah. Okay.
But
either way, I do think it's an interesting conversation with Huberdeau, just because he does get it done a little bit differently than those other guys at the top. And despite having that absurd amount of assists, he's the one that doesn't have a teammate up near the top of the list. So I've always been partial to two passy players. I know my biases on that for sure. The other conversation I wanted to have, and when you're arguably talking about most valuable player to their team, I think you can make a pretty damn good argument for Kaprizov.
Yeah. Well, and if you start making an argument for Kaprizov, that's where your argument for Shesterkin and your argument for Yossi, I think, is even
start
better
to come into. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I would take both of those guys over Kaprizov. But I do think
I don't know about Shesterkin.
I do, because the Rangers are very good. But I don't think the Rangers are very good, man. And Shesterkin has had the kind of year that forces a guy into this conversation because he's been that special.
I guess
you don't look around at the Rangers and you're just like, wow, this team is really, really, really tremendous.
It's just so hard to give a goalie that award.
I mean, the last defenseman to win it was Chris Pronger in 2001.
I know it's impossible to give it to a defenseman too. I know, but either way, I think it's a conversation that we have every year where you look at, pick your poison. You can take Yossi or Shesterkin or whoever you want. Guys that might not be the best player in the league, but are certainly the driving force behind their hockey team.
Well, and this is where that time-honored conversation of what's the definition of value.
Yep. And when it comes to the voters, the definition of value tends to be the best player in the league, or at least something akin to it, more than the most valuable player to their team, I would say.
It's weird that we have a Maple Leafs fan in here bombarding our chat, apparently not listening to anything that we're saying.
He literally just said he'd probably pick Matthews to win it. So
yeah,
I don't know what you're mad about, my guy.
I mean, he might be behind or whatever. It's just been really confusing to see it, where it's like, we're on your side here, guy. Okay.
You're not that far behind if you're answering our question.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I do think that I would prefer for the conversation to stop being go to NHL.com, sort by points,
total points, and take those three dudes and move on. Yeah.
Yeah, and start actually getting into the conversation of value. Because for me, I'm like, how can you make an argument? Like, I was pretty frustrated a few years ago when DRAISATL won it. Mm-hmm. Not because DRAISATL won it, but because if you looked at the ballots, you had DRAISATL as number 1 and then Connor McDavid as number 2. And I'm like, how is it that you're going to have the two are the two most valuable players on the team playing for a team that finished in 5th place?
Yep. In
the conference.
Some math don't add up there.
What the fuck is that? Like, and I usually try and keep team strength out of it for the reasons that the NBA is experiencing right now.
Yep.
But like, for real, like, how do you look and say this is the most valuable player on a team that finishes 5th place in a conference? And you're looking once again, like, I don't mind where Toronto is in the East, because the East is absolutely incredible this year, and right now they're 3rd.
Yep. Like,
they are right in the thick of the much stronger conference top to bottom. So their team strength won't bother me. But you're trying to make this argument for having finalists come out of what is the 5th place team coming out of the worst division in the league. Like, they are 2nd in the worst division in the NHL. And they may not even finish there. There's a realistic possibility that those guys finish behind an LA team and have to go to LA on the road in the postseason for their first round series. But these are the most valuable players in the league.
I mean,
come on. This is where I'm with you. Kirill Kaprizov? Where is Minnesota without that guy?
Yeah, right. They're nowhere.
Where is Minnesota without that guy? Where are the Rangers without Igor Shesterkin? You think if you take Igor off of the Rangers and you put him on the Maple Leafs, switch their goaltending, what happens to those standings?
Well, and I think that's, if you're saying Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid finish 1-2 in the MVP, you're saying the Edmonton Oilers are the worst team in the league.
Right.
Those two guys. That's what you're saying.
The worst team in the league.
Yep. So
now, I'm not going to say they would be, but they would obviously be
significantly worse.
Not very good. So I think them being part of the conversation is fine.
Yep.
But also, like, you take Jonathan HUBERDEAU off of Florida, and this is, is Florida still really good?
Yep.
Yes. Very
Definitely.
good. You take Nathan MacKinnon off of Colorado. You take Mikko Rantanen off of Colorado. Still very good.
Yep.
So that's where I'm like, okay, you can argue that those guys aren't the most valuable because of that. Calgary there's all this Johnny Gaudreau talk, but it's like Matt Tkachuk is right there.
Yeah, and that team has a lot of very solid players too.
Right. Well, and then Jacob Markstrom's kind of tied the whole thing together.
Yep.
Jacob Markstrom, you could argue that Jacob Markstrom belongs in a, I don't want to say, like, I don't think anybody belongs in the Vezina conversation other than Shesterkin, but like slots 2 through 6. Okay. I would have Markstrom in that conversation.
Fair enough. Probably have Kemper in there too. But.
Yeah, but if you're talking like value to a team, and I think that that's what it should be, but you have to be. I do think you have to be a playoff team because take this guy off, and what are they? They're a worse team. Well, with that guy, they're not even making the playoffs. Like that value is irrelevant.
I think there are worlds where you can get an MVP on a non-playoff team, but it has to be a genuinely like what Jokic is doing this year. And the Nuggets are going to be a playoff team, or at least a play-in team. But if you put up an all-world season, like genuinely one of the best seasons ever, and your team is just that bad, okay, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, if you're having a 130-point season and your team is in 9th place, I guess you get considered. Fair enough.
You're transcending a year's MVP and putting up one of the best seasons of all time at that point. When you're talking about just a really good season, because let's be honest, guys are having great seasons this year. No one's having a year that anyone's going to go, this was one of the greatest seasons ever.
Like McDavid last year in the 56-game season.
That was absurd.
Where we were like, the Hart conversation was like, well, it's McDavid, right? Yeah. Cool.
Right. And that's
like, come on.
Yeah, it just nothing else mattered because he was that much better than everyone else.
He was 21 points ahead of the second highest scorer, who was Leon Draisaitl. The next highest point total after that was 69.
Nice.
He had 105 points, and the next closest was Brad Marchand with 60. That's fucking crazy.
For the record, that's a 150-point pace in an 82-game season.
Right, and that's why last year it was like, just what the hell?
Yeah, you don't
give this to him. What are we doing here? Because that was the exact kind of like all-world, super special, holy shit type of season that we're talking about.
Yep.
But this year, that's not happened.
Correct. There isn't anyone that is separated quite like that this year.
Right. You're talking about a season that could have 10 guys.
Yep.
That get to 100 points, which is wow. We're not that far removed.
The era is over, baby.
We're not that far removed from Jamie Benn winning a scoring title with like 88 points.
Yeah. That was less than that, wasn't it? I think it was like 84.
I actually don't remember. But
anyway,
it was 80 something. Like it was really, really low, and everybody was like, "What's wrong with scoring?"
Everything is broken.
Yeah,
I was 89.
89.
Or I don't know. It was either 89 or 87. I forget which year you won it.
87. Okay. That was the Art Ross year.
There you go. Yeah, it's the NHL is weird, but you know, there's some parity at the top this year, I guess.
Yo, how weird is that? He won the Art Ross and finished 12th in Hart voting?
Yeah, some weird shit out there.
What the
I mean, the NHL awards have never been known for their consistency.
Yo, Devin Dubnyk was 4th in Hart voting that year.
Stuff's crazy.
We should do this for a summer show.
Oh, definitely.
We should play Two Truths and a Lie.
Oh my god.
It'd be like Devin Dubnyk once finished 4th in Hart voting.
True.
God,
that would be brutal. There. If you looked hard enough, there'd be some insane awards voting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Francois Beauchemin once got a Norris vote.
Yeah, as a member of the Avs.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was before ballots were published.
Yeah,
and it was one of the reasons why ballots got published
because
people were like, "Say what?"
All right. So, a fun little conversation about the Hart today. We are off tomorrow. We'll be back Friday, of course, pregame, postgame, all of that stuff for you for the weekend game. So, hopefully, y'all will tune into that. Any final thoughts you wanted to add here, AJ?
If you haven't read it, go read my Bo and Byron piece from yesterday. I'm going to push it out again on Twitter and social media and all that. I do have a Curtis McDermott thing that I'll push out just because I worked on it, and I imagine 12 people will be interested enough to read it. So you guys can keep fighting about how wrong I am there.
There you go. Fight about how AJ's wrong. Go watch my big EJ video that's coming out tomorrow.
Yep. How long have you worked on this? Last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's been like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of actually properly working on it. So
yeah.
It should be fun. It's kind of in the same vein of that Makar video that you all loved. So
yeah, we are off tomorrow on the pod.
Yeah, no pod, but EJ.
Yeah, because we've got Friday and Saturday shows, post games.
Yep. So we appreciate all y'all. We're gonna get out of here, and we will talk to you on Friday.